Every great transformation begins with a small decision, not a massive breakthrough, not a dramatic overnight change, just a small step forward. Most people believe success requires huge effort, sudden inspiration, or a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. They think the people who succeed somehow wake up different, more talented, more disciplined, more motivated. But the truth is far simpler and far more powerful. Real success is built on a quiet principle known as the 1% rule. The 1% rule means improving your life just 1% every single day. That's it. No extreme pressure. No unrealistic expectations. Just a tiny improvement, repeated consistently. At first, 1% sounds insignificant, almost invisible. It feels too small to matter. But what most people don't realize is that improvement compounds. If you get just 1% better every day for a year, you don't end up 365% better. Because growth compounds, you become nearly 37 times better than where you started. Let that sink in. Small daily improvements don't stay small. They multiply. They stack. They build momentum. But the opposite is also true. If you get just 1% worse every day, through procrastination, bad habits, distractions, and excuses, those small declines compound too. Slowly, silently, they pull you further away from the life you want. And that's exactly why most people feel stuck. Not because they failed once, but because they stopped improving daily. Look at the average day of most people. They wake up tired. They scroll on their phone for 30 minutes. They rush through the morning. They complain about work. They delay important tasks. They tell themselves they'll start tomorrow. Then tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes next year. Years pass, but nothing really changes. Not because they lack potential, but because they never focused on small daily progress. The 1% rule changes everything because it removes the pressure of perfection. You don't have to change your entire life today. You just need to be slightly better than yesterday. One more page read, one more workout rep, 10 more minutes of focus, one healthier choice, one better decision. These actions look tiny in the moment, but over time, they reshape your identity. Because success is not something you achieve once. Success is something you practice daily. Think about the strongest people you know, the most disciplined, the most successful. They didn't suddenly become that way. They built themselves through small habits repeated over thousands of days. A writer becomes great by writing a little every day. An athlete becomes elite by training a little harder every day. An entrepreneur succeeds by learning, improving, and adapting every single day. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary is rarely talent. It's consistency. And consistency doesn't come from motivation. It comes from systems. Motivation fades. Some days you feel unstoppable. Other days you feel exhausted and uninspired. If you rely only on motivation, you'll quit the moment life gets difficult. But systems don't rely on emotion. Systems create automatic progress. For example, instead of saying, "I want to read more," a system would be reading 10 pages every morning. Instead of saying, "I want to get fit," a system would be exercising 20 minutes every day. Instead of saying, "I want to grow my career," a system will be learning one new skill daily. These systems may seem simple, but their power lies in repetition. Every single day you follow the system, you become 1% better. But here's something important most people misunderstand. The results of the 1% rule are invisible at first. For weeks, maybe even months, it may feel like nothing is changing. You go to the gym, but your body looks the same. You read books, but you don't feel smarter. You work harder, but success doesn't appear immediately. This is where most people quit. They think the effort isn't working. But the truth is something powerful is happening beneath the surface. Progress is building quietly. Skills are forming. Discipline is strengthening. Confidence is growing. Then one day, everything compounds at once. The results finally become visible. People will suddenly say things like, "You're so lucky. You change so fast. You must be naturally talented." But they didn't see the thousands of small improvements you made when nobody was watching. They didn't see the early mornings. They didn't see the sacrifices. They didn't see the days you worked while others rested. The world only notices a breakthrough. But the breakthrough was built on daily 1% improvements. That's why patience is a critical part of the process. The 1% rule is not about instant gratification. It's about long-term transformation. And the most powerful part is this. Anyone can start. You don't need special resources. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need to wait for Monday next month or next year. All you need is a decision to improve today. Just 1%. Maybe that means waking up 15 minutes earlier. Maybe that means learning something new. Maybe that means choosing discipline over comfort. Those small choices seem insignificant in isolation, but over time, they change everything. Your habits shape your days. Your days shape your months. Your months shape your years. And your years shape your life. The people who achieve extraordinary success aren't doing extraordinary things every day. They are doing ordinary things extraordinarily consistently. And that consistency begins with a single decision to improve just a little today. Not tomorrow. Not when life gets easier. Today. Because the version of you 1 year from now is being built right now through the small actions you choose to take. The question is simple. Will you stay the same, or will you become 1% better today? The problem with most people is not that they aim too low. The real problem is that they try to change everything at once. They wake up one day feeling inspired and say, "This is it. I'm changing my life today." They plan to wake up at 5 a.m., work out for an hour, eat perfectly healthy meals, read 2 books a week, start a business, and eliminate every bad habit overnight. For a few days, maybe even a week, they push themselves hard. But then reality hits. The routine becomes overwhelming. Motivation fades. Old habits slowly creep back in. And soon they say the same words they said before. "I guess I just don't have the discipline." But discipline was never the real problem. The real problem was trying to grow too fast. The human brain doesn't respond well to massive sudden change. It prefers small adjustments that feel manageable. That's exactly why the 1% rule works so effectively. When change is small, it doesn't trigger resistance. Think of it like steering a massive ship in the ocean. If you turn the wheel just a few degrees, the ship barely changes direction at first. But over time, that tiny shift leads to an entirely different destination. Your life works the same way. Small daily choices slowly redirect your future. And the most powerful place to apply the 1% rule is your habits. Habits control nearly everything you do. Research shows that about 40 to 50% of your daily actions are habits. Things you do automatically without thinking. You brush your teeth the same way every morning. You check your phone at certain times. You respond to stress in familiar ways. You follow the same routines without realizing it. This means your habits are quietly shaping your life every single day. If your habits are strong, they push you toward growth. If your habits are weak, they pull you toward stagnation. The 1% rule is about improving your habits just a little bit at a time. Instead of forcing yourself into a 2-hour workout routine, start with 10 minutes. Instead of trying to read an entire book every week, read 5 pages a day. Instead of trying to completely eliminate distractions, reduce them slightly each day. These small habit changes seem almost too easy. And that's the point, because easy habits get repeated, and repetition is what creates transformation. When a habit becomes automatic, it no longer requires willpower. It becomes part of who you are. You're not someone forcing yourself to exercise. You're someone who works out. You're not someone trying to read. You're someone who reads daily. You're not someone chasing success. You're someone who grows every day. This shift in identity is where real change happens. Most people focus only on results. They say things like, "I want to lose weight. I want to make more money. I want to be successful." But goals alone rarely change behavior. Instead, focus on becoming the type of person who achieves those results naturally. For example, instead of saying, "I want to get fit," start saying, "I'm becoming a healthy person." Instead of saying, "I want to be successful," say, "I'm becoming someone who improves every day." Each small action then becomes a vote for the person you want to become. Every time you read instead of scrolling, you vote for becoming more knowledgeable. Every time you exercise instead of skipping, you vote for becoming stronger. Every time you work on your goals instead of procrastinating, you vote for becoming disciplined. Over time, these votes build a new identity. And once your identity changes, your habits follow naturally. But there's another powerful secret behind the 1% rule that many people overlook. It's the environment around you. Your environment quietly influences your behavior more than you realize. If your phone is always in your hand, you'll naturally check it more. If junk food is sitting on the kitchen counter, you'll eat it. If your workspace is messy and distracting, your focus disappears. Instead of relying purely on willpower, smart people design environments that make improvement easier. If you want to read more, place a book on your desk or bedside table. If you want to exercise more, keep your workout clothes visible. If you want to reduce distractions, turn off unnecessary notifications. These small environmental changes make good habits easier and bad habits harder. And once again, the improvement doesn't need to be dramatic, just 1% better. That's the beauty of this rule. Anyone can do it, no matter where you are in life. Maybe you feel behind. Maybe you feel stuck. Maybe you feel like success is far away. But the truth is, success doesn't require perfection. It requires progress. And progress begins with a single small improvement today. Not next week. Not when you feel ready. Today. Because every day you delay improvement is a day the compound effect works against you. Time will pass anyway. The question is, will that time work for you or against you? Imagine two people starting from the same place today. One person improves just 1% daily. The other stays exactly the same. At first, their lives look identical. After a few months, the difference becomes noticeable. After a year, the gap becomes massive. After 5 years, their lives look completely different. One built momentum. The other stayed comfortable. And comfort, while appealing in the moment, is often the enemy of growth. Growth requires small daily challenges, small daily effort, small daily discipline. The 1% rule doesn't ask you to be perfect. It simply asks you to show up, to improve slightly, to move forward, even if the step feels tiny. Because those tiny steps are quietly building a powerful force called momentum. And once momentum begins, progress becomes easier. The hardest part is simply starting. But once you start improving, even a little, you prove something important to yourself. You prove that change is possible. You prove that progress is within your control. And most importantly, you prove that your future is not determined by where you are today, but by what you choose to do next. There comes a point in every journey of self-improvement where progress feels slow and almost invisible. You're waking up earlier, trying to stay disciplined, putting in an effort when nobody is watching. Yet when you look at your life, it might seem like nothing has changed. This is the moment where most people give up, not because they lack ability, not because success is impossible for them, but because they cannot yet see the results of their effort. The truth about the 1% rule is that progress is often invisible in the beginning. Imagine an ice cube sitting in a cold room where the temperature is 25 degrees Fahrenheit. The ice cube remains frozen. Now the temperature rises to 26 degrees. Nothing happens. At 27 degrees, it is still frozen. At 28 degrees, the ice cube looks exactly the same. Even at 31 degrees, nothing seems to change. But when the temperature reaches 32 degrees, something incredible happens. The ice cube begins to melt. Now ask yourself this question. Did the change only happen at 32 degrees? Of course not. Every single degree before that moment mattered. Each small increase was preparing the transformation. The final result only appeared when all those small improvements finally reached a tipping point. Your life works the same way. When you follow the 1% rule, your improvements may not show immediate results, but beneath the surface, something powerful is happening. Your discipline is growing stronger. Your focus is becoming sharper. Your mindset is changing. Your confidence is slowly building. Every time you choose progress over comfort, you are raising the temperature of your life by 1 degree, and eventually the breakthrough arrives. But here's the challenge. Most people quit at 31 degrees. They stop right before the transformation happens. They quit because they think their effort isn't working. They return to old habits because those habits feel easier and more familiar. And by doing so, they restart their progress from the beginning. This is why patience is one of the most powerful qualities you can develop. Success doesn't belong to those who start fast. It belongs to those who keep going when progress feels slow. When you improve just 1% every day, you activate something called the compound effect. The compound effect is simple but incredibly powerful. Small actions repeated consistently over time create massive results. Think about saving money. If you invest a small amount regularly, the growth feels slow at first. But as time passes, the interest compounds, and suddenly the growth accelerates. Your habits work exactly the same way. Reading a few pages every day can turn into dozens of books in a year. Practicing a skill for 20 minutes daily can turn into mastery over time. Improving your discipline just a little each day can turn into unstoppable confidence. This is how extraordinary lives are built, not through giant leaps, but through thousands of small steps. Unfortunately, modern culture often promotes the opposite idea. Social media constantly shows overnight success stories, viral fame, instant results, sudden transformations. But what you rarely see are the years of preparation behind those moments. The early mornings, the late nights, the quiet sacrifices, the slow progress that nobody noticed. Real growth is rarely exciting in the beginning. In fact, it can feel boring. Doing the same small habits every day doesn't feel dramatic. It doesn't feel heroic. Sometimes it feels ordinary. But that ordinary consistency is exactly what produces extraordinary results. The people who achieve great things are not always the most talented. They are the ones who stay consistent long enough for the compound effect to work. And consistency becomes easier when you stop chasing perfection. Perfection is one of the biggest enemies of progress. Many people believe they must follow their routine perfectly or they have failed. So if they miss one workout, they quit. If they skip one day of studying, they stop completely. If they make one mistake, they abandon the process. But progress does not require perfection. It requires persistence. Missing one day doesn't destroy your progress. Quitting does. The goal is not to be perfect every day. The goal is simply to keep moving forward. If you miss a day, start again tomorrow. If you fail, learn from it and continue. If progress feels slow, remind yourself that growth is still happening beneath the surface. Because every time you return to the process, you strengthen your identity as someone who refuses to give up. And identity is incredibly powerful. When you begin to see yourself as someone who improves every day, your actions naturally begin to match that belief. You start making better decisions. You start choosing discipline over distraction. You start choosing growth over comfort. But the 1% rule is not only about adding positive habits. It is also about removing small negative behaviors that quietly hold you back. Sometimes improving your life by 1% means reducing distractions. Maybe it means spending less time scrolling on your phone. Maybe it means complaining less and taking more responsibility. Maybe it means replacing negative thoughts with stronger beliefs. Just as positive habits compound upward, negative habits compound downward. A few minutes of distraction may seem harmless today, but repeated every day for years, it steals thousands of hours from your potential. That is why awareness is a first step toward improvement. Ask yourself a simple question every day. What is one small thing I can do better today? The answer does not need to be dramatic. Maybe today you read 10 pages instead of 5. Maybe today you work a little longer on your goal. Maybe today you choose action instead of doubt. Those small victories may seem insignificant in the moment, but they are building momentum. And momentum is powerful, because once momentum begins, progress becomes easier. And one day you will look back and realize something incredible. The person you used to be no longer exists, because through hundreds of tiny improvements, you slowly became someone stronger, wiser, and more disciplined, all from improving just 1% every single day. One day you will wake up and realize that your life has changed, not because of one big decision, not because of one lucky opportunity, but because of hundreds of small choices you made when nobody was watching. That is the true power of the 1% rule. It doesn't promise instant success. It doesn't promise overnight transformation. Instead, it offers something much more powerful: steady and unstoppable progress. Every single day, you are moving in a direction. You are either improving or declining. You are either building better habits or strengthening the habits that hold you back. There is no neutral. Life is always moving, and the direction it moves depends on the small decisions you make daily. Think about the person you want to become 5 years from now. Maybe you want to be more confident. Maybe you want financial freedom. Maybe you want a healthier body, a sharper mind, or a stronger career. Whatever that vision looks like, it will not be built in one dramatic moment. It will be built in quiet, ordinary days when you choose discipline over comfort. Because success is not created on the day you achieve it. Success is created on the days when you feel tired but still show up, on the days when motivation disappears, but you keep going, on the days when progress feels invisible, but you refuse to quit. Those are the days that shape your future. The 1% rule reminds us that greatness is not about doing something huge once. It's about doing something small consistently. A few pages read today, a short workout completed today, a new skill practice today, a distraction avoided today. Individually, these actions may seem small, but together they build momentum. And momentum changes everything. Once momentum starts working in your favor, things begin to feel different. The habits that once felt difficult start to feel natural. The discipline that once felt forced becomes part of your identity. The goals that once felt far away begin to feel possible. This is when life starts to transform. But it all begins with a simple mindset shift. Stop asking, how can I change my life overnight? Start asking, how can I improve just a little today? Because improving by 1% today may not feel impressive. But improving by 1% every day for a year will completely change who you are. The truth is, you don't need perfect conditions to begin. You don't need the perfect plan. You don't need to wait for next Monday, next month, or next year. The only thing you need is a decision to start now. Right now. Make one better choice today. Do one small thing that your future self will thank you for. Maybe it's learning something new. Maybe it's taking action on a goal you've been delaying. Maybe it's simply refusing to waste another day living below your potential. Remember this: small actions repeated daily create powerful results. Time will pass whether you improve or not. A year from now will arrive no matter what you do today. The real question is this: when that day comes, will you be the same person you are today, or someone who is stronger, wiser, more disciplined, and closer to the life you truly want? The answer is being written right now, in the small actions you choose today. So start small, start imperfect, but most importantly, start today and become just 1% better.